a lovely rainy spring night, and I thought it's finally time to sit down and talk about the new Death on the Nile movie. I finally finished the book and my notes about the differences between the book and the movie. This was a reread for me. The first time I gave it 5 stars. The second time I still gave it 5 stars. It's one of my favorite Agatha Christie books so far, and if you don't know, she's my favorite author. I also have a fondness for anything ancient Egypt, so obviously this book is right up my alley. This is my original copy, the William Morrow edition. I'm collecting these. And then, this time around, I read my Barnes & Noble leather-bound edition, which is so pretty. There are 3 of these, and I hope they keep making them because I'm absolutely in love. Before I go down the list, the biggest thing I want to say about the characters is that in the book, they are all mostly strangers on a tourist boat. In the movie, they're all wedding guests, so they all have a connection to the newlyweds, Linnet and Simon. I listed the characters in order of book appearance, starting with Linnet Ridgeway, a wealthy young woman and the first murder victim aboard the SS Carnac. She is one of the few characters that is straight from the book with little to no change. In the movie, she's played by Gadot. My brother and I discussed her after the movie. She's probably the first performance we talked about. She wasn't bad, but I think she was too nice for this part because Linnet is supposed to appear nice, but actually the more you learn about her, the more you're like, oh, this is like a spoiled rich girl. She's actually kind of a brat. Gal was just too nice. She wasn't mean enough. I think that was our biggest problem with her, but there wasn't anything wrong with the performance. Maybe it was just miscast. Next up is Joanna Southwood, friend of Linnet and second cousin of the character Tim Allerton. She is not an SS Carnac passenger, but it's later revealed that she's a jewel thief. This character is in the book, but not in the movie. Lord Charles Windlesham, he is the man that Linnet almost marries in the book. Charles is in the movie, but his name is changed to Linus, and he's combined with another book character who will come up later. Marie, Linnet's former maid, who fell in love with a man who Linnet found out was already married to an Egyptian woman with 3 children. By the time Linnet is in Egypt, she has a new maid named Louise Bourget. After the first murder, Louise, the maid, tries to throw Poirot off by blaming the murder on one of the boat engineers named Fleetwood. He is the man that the former maid, Marie, fell in love with. Louise suggests that Fleetwood blames Linnet for breaking up the relationship, and that's his motive for murdering her. Louise turns out to be the second murder victim. She is found under her bed clutching some money. It's later revealed that she knew who committed the first murder and tried to blackmail them, and that's what got her killed. Going back to the former maid Marie, Marie is not in the movie. Louise is in the movie, and her story is combined with Marie. So, Louise in the movie is the one whose relationship was ended by Linnet. I can't remember if the story is exactly the same, but in the movie, Louise is suspected for the same reason Fleetwood is in the book, being angry at Linnet for breaking up the romance. Fleetwood himself is not in the movie, and there is no replacement, so we never actually see Louise's former flame. Her body is actually found in a different spot in the movie. She's found in the water wheel of the ship. She was killed for the same reason, blackmail. However, no money is found on her body anywhere. Poirot just comes to the conclusion that she was killed because she was trying to blackmail the killer. She is killed in the same way. She is stabbed by a scalpel, which initially makes Poirot suspect the doctor in both the book and the movie, but they end up proving it was not the doctor. Spoiler alert. I know this is a lot of information. I'm trying to make it as clear as I can. Jacqueline de Bellefort, or Jackie, she is Linnet's former friend and Simon Doyle's former fiance. Her story is the same. She's angry at Linnet and Simon for betraying her. She used to be Linnet's best friend and she was engaged to Simon. Simon leaves her for Linnet and marries Linnet. She's mad at them both and stalks them on their honeymoon. After everyone is aboard the boat, in both the book and the movie, one night in the lounge, Jackie shoots Simon and chaos ensues. And then the next morning, Linnet is found dead in her bed. After all of the investigating, Jackie is revealed to be a murderer. However, she did not kill Linnet. Now we look at Simon Doyle, Jackie's former fiance and Linnet's husband. He is revealed to be a murderer. He did kill Linnet. Him and Jackie were in it together, and all of this was an elaborate plan to get money, basically. The event that threw everyone off was an illusion. Jacqueline shot blanks at Simon in front of witnesses. He used nail polish as fake blood. When Jackie's taken away to her room, feigning hysterics, Simon grabs her gun, which she dropped on the ground, rushes to Linnet's room, shoots her, races back to the lounge, and then actually shoots himself in the leg using Miss Van Schuyler's velvet stole as a silencer. Yes, he does actually shoot himself in the leg. That is book Simon. Movie Simon is pretty much the same with a few small changes, like he uses red paint for fake blood instead of red nail polish. Miss Van Schuyler's scarf is the silencer rather than a velvet stole. Just like the book, Simon only kills Linnet in the movie. Jackie is the person who kills the other two victims. At the end of the book, as everyone is getting off the boat, Jackie shoots Simon, who's on a stretcher, and herself before they can pay any consequences for their murderous actions. She does the same thing in the movie. However, she does it right after Poirot reveals to everyone who the killers are. Next up is our beloved Belgian detective Hercule Poirot. In the books, he has very, very little backstory. In the movie, they switch that up with a flashback to his time as a soldier. Catherine, his fiancée, dies serving as a nurse in World War I. He has facial scars from the war and actually grows his famous mustache to cover up the scars. As the movie goes on, a new romance is hinted at, and at the very end, he actually shaves, reveals his scars, and visits said woman. Don't worry about who the woman is right now. We'll get to her. I don't know how I feel about the shaving. I know it's meant to be symbolic because this is the first time in like 20 years he's had a shaved face, and also the first time since his fiancée that he's had any romantic interest in anyone. I just have a hard time equating movie Poirot with book Poirot. I really don't mind Kenneth Branagh's Poirot. Some people hate it. I don't outright hate it. I just don't know if I like Poirot shaving the mustache. Poirot would never do that. He is so protective of his facial hair, it kind of feels a little sacrilegious. I don't mind the backstory and all of that, but the shaving of the mustache is like too much for me. I get it. It's symbolic to match what they added at the beginning, but I think it's straying too far away from Poirot. The next characters to appear in the book are Tim Allerton and his mother, Mrs. Allerton. They're two passengers aboard the SS Carnac. Tim's odd behavior around Poirot leads to the reveal that he is his cousin Joanna Southwood's accomplice. He makes counterfeit jewels to replace the ones that she steals. I think I mentioned this before, Joanna is never on the boat. Tim is, and because of his reveal, Joanna is mentioned in this whole scheme. Tim is caught because Lynette's pearls go missing and they're replaced by fakes. Poirot forces Tim to return the real pearls, but doesn't take any further action against Tim, which is actually really nice of him. Tim's budding romance is then revealed, and things are left on a positive note with the young couple leaving Poirot towards the end of the book to tell Tim's mother about the relationship. This is one of the biggest changes in the movie, okay? So stay with me. Tim and his mother are not in the movie. Instead of Tim, we get Bourget, who is a character from Murder on the Orient Express. That's right, they carry over a character. There are repeat characters in Agatha Christie novels. However, Murder on the Orient Express and Death on the Nile, the books, they don't share any characters. This is completely new. If you've never seen Murder or you don't remember it, Bourget is the nephew of the Orient Express owner, as well as being one of Poirot's friends. Bourget is not alone. He is on the boat with his mother, Euphemia, who replaces Mrs. Allerton. She is a painter, and it's her red paint that is stolen and used by Simon Doyle to look like blood. Bourget does have a romantic relationship, but in the movie, his mother knows early on instead of finding out at the end. She actually distrusts the girl enough to hire Poirot to spy on her. I'll talk about that more later when we get to the girl. Back to Bourget. He is not a jewel thief. That storyline is not part of the movie, nor is Joanna Southwood. However, Bourget did steal Lynette's pearls, so he did commit a crime. He witnessed Jackie killing the maid, Louise. When he's about to tell Poirot who the killer is, he is shot and killed, making Bourget the third and final victim. This is not only a major twist because Bourget is Poirot's friend and co-investigator for quite a bit of the movie. He's a brand new victim. The third victim in the book is completely different. This is one of the movie changes that I really didn't mind because you never saw this coming. Even though Bourget resembles Tim, the book character that he's replacing, Tim never died. I don't know, I kind of like that they threw something in there that would be a shock to people who had read the book. Not everyone's going to agree, but it was one of the changes that I really didn't mind. Next book character is Cornelia Robson. She is the young cousin of Miss Van Schuyler. She is brought along as an assistant. She is briefly considered a suspect in the book because her father was financially ruined by Linnet Ridgeway's father. A fellow passenger in the book, Mr. Ferguson, actually proposes to her at the end of the trip, but she refuses, instead accepting the proposal of Dr. Bessner. That is all in the book. None of that is in the movie. Cornelia does not exist in the movie universe. Which brings us to her cousin, Miss Marie Van Schuyler, a wealthy American traveling with her cousin Cornelia and her nurse, Miss Bowers. As I mentioned earlier, it is her velvet stole that's stolen and used to silence the gun that kills Linnet Ridgeway. It's later revealed that she is a kleptomaniac. She is the one who stole Lynette's pearls. When her nurse, Miss Bowers, returns them to Poirot, that's when he realizes they're fake pearls and the real ones were also stolen. Miss Van Schuyler is in the movie, but there are some changes. Miss Van Schuyler is younger than described in the book and not a kleptomaniac. Also, her relationship with the nurse, Miss Bowers, is seemingly professional, but later revealed to be romantic. So they are a couple. As I mentioned, everyone on the boat in the movie is a wedding guest. So they all have connections to Linnet. Miss Van Schuyler is actually her godmother and a benefactor in her will, which makes her a suspect because if Linnet dies, she gets some of that money. Miss Bowers in the movie is given part of Cornelia's book storyline. Her family was evicted by Linnet's father, which gives her motive for revenge, and that's what makes her a suspect in the movie. So if you remember in the book, Cornelia's father was financially ruined. That makes her a suspect. In the movie, Miss Bowers' family was evicted, and I guess you could call that financial ruin in some capacity. That's what makes her a suspect. Moving on to Andrew Pennington, who is Linnet's American trustee. I believe he's actually one of a group. It is revealed that he is actually stealing money from her. In the movie, the character is still there, but his name has been changed to Andrew Cachadorian. Hopefully I'm saying that right, Cachadorian. He is Linnet's cousin, that's what she calls him, but he's actually just a childhood friend. He's her trustee, but also her lawyer. Andrew's combined with the book character Jim Fanthorpe, who is one of her English solicitors, along with his uncle William Carmichael. I think this is obvious, but Jim and his uncle are not in the movie. Both versions of Andrew try to kill Linnet with a boulder during an off-boat excursion, and both are revealed to be stealing money from her. This is another difference. In the book, Jim Fanthorpe is on the boat because his uncle sent him to keep an eye on Linnet. They suspect that someone is stealing money from Linnet, specifically Andrew. Their suspicions lead Poirot to accuse Andrew. He tells Poirot he will never be able to make suspicions or charges stick. We never see Poirot go to the police. We just know that Andrew is stubborn. He admits to what he did, but he's cocky because Poirot can't really prove it. In the movie, the same thing happens. We never see Poirot go to the authorities. The difference is that in exchange, Andrew promises to make everything right. He is much more apologetic about what he did than Book Andrew. I assume that probably comes from heavy guilt as a childhood friend to Linnet. Book Andrew is just a trustee. He's not a childhood friend. They don't have a deeper connection than that. Next up is Mrs. Salome Otterbourne. In the book, she is a struggling author and alcoholic traveling with her daughter, Rosalie. She witnessed Jackie entering Louise's cabin. When she hears about the maid Louise dying, she tries to tell Poirot who the killer is. But before she can do so, Jackie, concealed by a window, shoots her. In the book, Salome is the third and final victim. She is the one replaced in the movie by Bourget. In the movie, Mrs. Otterbourne does not die. In the movie, Salome is a singer and alcohol is never mentioned. So she is not an alcoholic. She is the character who's hinted at as a love interest for Poirot. At the end of the movie, she is the woman he shaves for. He visits her at a club where she is singing. Next up is Salome's daughter, Rosalie. In the book, she takes care of her alcoholic mother, which has given her a very sour temperament. You don't know right away that her mother's an alcoholic, so her attitude towards Poirot and some of the other passengers makes her very unlikable. Eventually, her secret is revealed and she calms down. Remember the budding romance I mentioned with Tim Allerton? Rosalie is the girl and they are together when the book ends. In the movie, Rosalie is Salome's niece, not daughter, and she's her manager. She is romantically involved with Bourget, who is Tim's movie replacement. His mother, Euphemia, doesn't trust Rosalie, So she hires Poirot to watch her. When all is revealed, Rosalie turns on Poirot. Their relationship is very strained until the end of the movie, which I can understand. All of a sudden, you lose trust in Bouk's mom, in Poirot. I can imagine how icky it felt knowing this famous detective had actually been hired to watch you. This is another change in the movie that I'm not quite sure about. No matter how unlikable Rosalie comes across in the movie, I can't really blame her. I don't think Poirot would ever do this. If a mother came to him about her son, her only child, her baby, and was like, I don't trust the woman he's with, can you watch her? She doesn't really have strong evidence against Rosalie, so I have a hard time believing that Poirot would actually take this job. After Bouk's death and Poirot's big reveal, Rosalie and Euphemia actually lean on each other as they're leaving the boat. I think both of them connect because they both lost the same person, someone they both loved dearly, and their lives have now changed forever. Almost done. This is so much information. I really hope everything makes sense. Dr. CarlBessner. He is a doctor aboard the boat who assists with all the medical emergencies that take place. Despite no strong evidence of a relationship, aside from pleasant conversations throughout the boat trip, he is engaged to the character Cornelia at the end of the book. In the movie, obviously you know Cornelia doesn't exist. Dr. Bessner is in the movie, but he's actually combined with the character Lord Charles Windlesham. Linnet's former boyfriend and the doctor are one person, Dr. Linus Windlesham. He almost married Linnet, but she obviously doesn't marry him. She marries Simon. She invites him to the wedding because she still considers him a friend, not even thinking, this is probably really insensitive considering this guy wanted to marry me. Really insensitive. And that's what I mean about Linnet. She seems nice, but she's not really nice. On the other hand, Linus actually shows up, which tells me he's not completely over her. In some sick, twisted way, he can't say no to her. It's sad. Pretty much everything about the doctor in the movie is the same. The biggest difference is the romance. He is now Linnet's former boyfriend, and he doesn't end up with anyone at the end of the film. The next book character is Mr. Ferguson. He is an outspoken communist thought by Miss Van Schuyler to be a nobody, unworthy of her cousin Cornelia. The reason she even calls him unworthy is because he tries to get Cornelia's attention the entire trip. He proposes to her, but she refuses and obviously accepts the proposal of Dr. Bessner. Later on, it's revealed that he is not who he says he is. He is not Mr. Ferguson, and he's not poor. He is actually a wealthy young man named Lord Dawlish. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Dawlish. I think he actually legitimately likes Cornelia, but she does not gel with his personality. He's very mouthy, and she's the complete opposite. I think that's why she goes with Dr. Bessner in the end, even though Dr. Bessner is an older man. Mr. Ferguson / Lord Dawlish is not in the movie at all, which makes sense because not only is Cornelia not in the movie, but they trimmed down the number of passengers. He's one of the passengers that's in the book, but he's not talked about the most. So, there you go. We're down to our final two characters. First up is Colonel Race. He is a friend of Poirot, ex-Army and former MI5 leader. He is actually a repeat character in the books. I believe Death on the Nile was his 3rd out of 4 total appearances. He boards the SS Karnak on the trail of a criminal, and since he's already there, he assists Poirot's investigation when the murders take place. I don't want to butcher this name, so I'll say The Italian passenger named Guido says he's an archaeologist, but he turns out to be the criminal that Colonel Race is looking for. He is arrested at the end of the book, so Race does get his man. Neither of these characters are in the movie. Here are the last few notes I want to mention. Number one, the special effects are not great in this movie. None of this was actually filmed in Egypt. I think it was all filmed in the UK on like a sound stage. Oh, the pyramid scene in the beginning is rough. And then some of the scenery that the boat passes, it's not great. I would give the movie a pass, but I don't think it deserves one. They should have done Egypt more justice than they did. One thing I really loved about this movie, it had this sort of like period drama vibe, like a Great Gatsby or something like that. At the wedding party before everyone boards the boat, there's this really cool feeling of like how the characters intertwine with one another. I really loved all of that. However, I didn't like how they spelled out who everyone is. I get that the movie is also catering to people who have not read the book, but I just didn't feel like the way they spelled out who every character is fit in smoothly. It just didn't. That could have been revisited and redone, especially because they actually trimmed down the number of characters. There were characters that were cut out completely, and there were characters that were combined. It was a shorter passenger list. They could have introduced everyone in a better way. There was actually a nod to Gal Gadot playing Cleopatra, because she actually dresses up as Cleopatra. And I have no idea if they even knew, because this movie was filmed years ago. And her casting as Cleopatra was only announced last year. It was fine. It just seemed like such a bizarre coincidence. I don't know. I was just like, all right, cool. I did mention the terrible special effects. I will say I really liked the Egyptian temple scene where they get off the boat and go inside this temple that's guarded by these two huge statues. The way the set was inside, it felt so cool. I don't know. I thought that scene was well done. Final thoughts. My brother did not really like this movie. He thought Orient Express was okay. I think he actually ended up liking that one better. He thought that Death on the Nile took too long to get going because the murders start happening like an hour in, and it's only a 2-hour movie. However, that is exactly how the book goes. I think you're actually like 100 pages in before a murder even happens. I think that was done on purpose. Christie made this a very character-driven book, and she took a lot of time to introduce you to all the characters and really set up who everyone is and how they connect. So, even though my brother didn't like that, he didn't read the book, so he doesn't really understand why that was a creative choice. I understand that creative choice, and it really doesn't bother me. What bothers me is that I didn't end up liking this movie any better than Orient Express. Both movies are fine. I will rewatch them in the future. There's nothing terrible about either one, but neither of them are great. Kenneth Branagh has taken these movies and made something visually interesting to watch, but the plane just never quite lifts off the ground. Both movies are really right around a 3 out of 5 stars. I really want him to continue making movies, and apparently there is a third movie in the works that's based on a lesser-known Christie story, and it's going to take place in Venice, Italy. That excites me. I want them to make more. I love the idea of an Agatha Christie cinematic universe. The one thing I'm concerned about is that we are 2 movies in, and I don't feel like they're improving. Nothing improved in Death on the Nile. It was the exact same experience for me. I was super excited going in, despite like, what, a 2-year delay? This movie had a lot of delays and changes in the release date. It was crazy. I was so excited going in, and the movies were just fine. So I really, really hope that somebody's paying attention to the critiques and taking notes. I want the third movie to blow my socks off. I really do. I am rooting for Kenneth. I am rooting for this cinematic universe. But if the third one does the exact same thing and is just okay, it's gonna really disappoint me. It's gonna make me want to give up on the movies. And I want to be its biggest fan, its biggest cheerleader, because I want these movies to succeed. I love murder mysteries, but I can't keep defending them if the creators keep pumping out okay movies. At some point, I'm gonna have to give up and agree with the crowd. We'll see. I'm excited for this third movie, and hopefully COVID will stay away. There won't be any delays. I want it to kick butt and take names, okay? Fingers crossed for that third movie. Let me know in the comments down below. Have you ever read the book? Are you a fan? Have you seen the movie? What did you think of the movie on its own? And what did you think of the movie versus the book? Let's discuss. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to hit that red button down below to subscribe and become a member of my YouTube family. Also, click the bell to turn on your notifications. Click the link down below to become a patron and financially support future content. There are 10 tiers to choose from, something for every budget. My comment section is always open, and video suggestions from you are always welcome. I will see you in my next video. Bye!